Right. Further into the depths of this pocket dimension in the moon, there is nothing to indicate just how far we need to go in order to reach the final destination, though I suppose in the Pixel Remaster, there'd be a way to check not only the in-game map to figure out where we are and where to go next, there'd also be a helpful way to check how many chests are still unopened in a given dungeon. And that would be a pretty solid way to figure out how much more we have to do. Well, this golden dragon is certainly being annoying to deal with. I'm sure a good amount of that is just because I'm not adapting enough whenever I run into enemies that counterattack us constantly. Sure, I'm getting punished for it to a degree, but the punishment right now isn't particularly harsh, all things considered. It's just very annoying, and I've gotten very used to this game being annoying. And since I don't think it's possible to buy any MP replenishing items in this version of the game, Rydia throwing around high-level ice spells does not feel all that sustainable. Ah well, the important thing is that we're still trying to make progress for the moment. Pretty sure I'd prefer to take on a behemoth, even if behemoths are more likely to knock some of our party down with their counterattacks. Golden dragons just slow us down and make the random encounters just that much more of a pain in the ass. So, 1 HP damage to Cecile, but over 1,000 to Kain. I somehow doubt that Cecile's armor is that much better than Kain's. I know, I keep getting confused how damage seems to work around here. It's like beating a dead horse. The problem is that 48 clips into this game, all we have are dead horses to beat down. At least until we reach another boss fight or make some story progress, and I don't think we're gonna see any story progress for several more clips. Not with the amount of raw footage I see remaining for this game. Right, speak of a behemoth, and there's one just waiting inside of a box for us to start fighting. I suppose imagining how something that massive could fit in a small treasure box is its own kind of hilarity. Was there a burst of light as it came out like it was some kind of Pokemon coming out of a Pokeball? Hell, Pokemon wasn't even a thing when the initial release of Final Fantasy IV happened. Well, I managed to take that one out without any casualties. I suppose that's a good sign that I'm willing to adjust and adapt when we run into trouble. It just has to be a certain kind of trouble that risks us having members taken down altogether, rather than just them being inconvenienced to hell. I probably should have used Edge's ninjutsu more around here. I mean, sure, he's nowhere near as good as Rydia in terms of dealing magical damage, but still, I'm sure it couldn't hurt. And I somehow doubt I'd really give a damn if I had any MP left for him if we start fighting another boss. Well, Rosa certainly got me worried there with some of the hits she took. I'm pretty sure I said this in an earlier clip, but most online guides seem to tell me that the best time to enter this dungeon would have been when the team is in the mid-50s to early 60s in terms of level. Unfortunately, the best place to level up at this stage of the game is this very dungeon. We've dealt with all the bonus dungeons, dealt with all the side quests, now it's just us working our way towards the main boss. And while there are bonus bosses, they are all in this dungeon at random points. Well, I suppose it's not impossible to get through, but it still just doesn't quite feel right. Okay, not only are these dragons pretty damn durable, they're throwing around attacks that we don't see much of, if at all, from other enemies in the game. Was this another surprise boss fight? Hell, I didn't even know enough to slow down the footage for them, so I kinda think it might not be the case. And I'm kinda getting the impression from myself that outside of extremely frustrating enemies, I'm not gonna slow the footage down at all anymore. Well, that was certainly closer than I would have liked. Definitely doesn't feel like we had any real options to brace ourselves for that shit. Part of me is tempted to pull back for healing and resupply right now. We're certainly coming across some stiff resistance at the moment. Still, we've got a long ways to go before we're done out here, and we've still got a decent supply of potions and eye potions for now. I'm willing to keep risking going forward from here. I'm not sure there's anyone on the team that would benefit from wearing a Protect Ring this far into the game. Hell, I'm pretty sure that in later games in the series, a Protect Ring is essentially an accessory, and one that you can equip relatively early on in the game. I have no clue why we'd be getting one this late into this game, especially since there's no such thing as an accessory slot for our equipment just yet. Those haven't been invented. Should I have checked to find out precisely what a Protect Ring does in this game? Anyway, looks like we've got a blue dragon, which means that blue and red dragon fight was not a boss fight. It's just that the random encounters this far in are dangerous enough that it's easy to confuse them for boss fights, which makes me all the more nervous about the actual boss fights later on. And that is definitely giving me the sense that I'm underprepared, when I can't really think of too much more we could have done to prepare before entering this dungeon. Oh, come on, that was just 2 or 3 steps from the last fight. I know random encounters are supposed to catch us off guard and all that, but this feels a bit on the cruel side. I guess the game designers just felt like the final dungeon was the time to get especially cruel against the player, which kind of feels odd to say considering the amount of bullshit we had to deal with in the magnetic cave, the lava cave, and the acid cave. This game has just been downright brutal for us to get through, period. So the fact that this section feels so damn grueling as well, not pleasant. I would have preferred if it felt like we could just steamroll our way through what's left of the game. But that's mostly because I've gotten pretty sick of dealing with this specific game at this specific time. I'm sure if I was more into this specific experience, that I'd be more enthusiastic for what we've got to deal with out here at the moment. Because it is, indeed, challenging. Anyway, that takes care of another behemoth, with no idea how many more we're gonna have to deal with before the end of the game. Still, definitely appreciate fighting them in the final dungeon more than those Moon Maidens. Hopefully the Moon Maidens are only limited to the earliest parts of the final dungeon. They're just very difficult to feel intimidated by, considering what we had to battle through to get this far in. I suppose I should feel intimidated by the skull floating over Rydia's head. Never mind, we had the perfect solution to that without having to worry about actually seeing that curse do anything. I kind of wish I could say that the enemy should be demoralized by something like that, but for one thing, I don't think undead dragons have enough consciousness left to have morale of any kind. And for another thing, the enemy literally has infinite resources to draw on. They don't have to worry about how many of their monsters get killed. All the bad guys need to do is kill the players group, and they can win the entire conflict. It's not like there's anyone else who's especially active in trying to save the world, and we only had the one craft capable of flying to the moon. I'm really hoping when I get to some of the later Final Fantasies that there's more of a sense of other people in the world trying to do something, not just leaving everything in the hands of the protagonists. Though I suppose that's a bit of an easy trap for the writers to fall into. After all, the vast majority of any story follows the players and the protagonists. You're kidding me. The Protector Ring is that damn effective. I am absolutely certain that it's an early game item in future games in this same series. That's a bit disconcerting, but I suppose I kinda deserve that minor bit of embarrassment for making an assumption. It's not like it was the kind of embarrassment that made us have to repeat anything, after all. Just the kind that makes me question if I really know what I'm doing when I'm this far into this thing. Definitely feels like we're deep in dragon territory at this point. Part of me wants to say that there are more dragons here than in Bahamut's Lair, but that's probably unfair to say, considering that Bahamut's Lair is several times smaller than this place. So of course we're gonna have more time to run into multiple dragons. I'm not too sure why some of the dragon attacks we're getting hit by are only doing double-digit damage. Huh. Well, that's an odd-looking beast. Not really sure I'd call it menacing. In fact, I seem to recall we dealt with a few of those in the opening of the game. I have the distinct feeling it only has one means of offense here. And we didn't even actually have to do anything special against it. I'm pretty sure Edge was a quarter second away from going down, but hey, we didn't lose anyone. Definitely a nice feeling there. Hopefully that kind of luck will continue for us as we keep pushing forward. Wait, it scanned itself? Oh, part of me is getting the distinct feeling that actually attacking it with lightning is some kind of trap, but the other part of me is curious enough to try to see what that trap actually results in. Huh, I was honestly expecting something bad to happen to us since I used the thing that it was repeatedly telling us to attack it with. I'm not even entirely sure why I sent that lightning bolt, when I have just that feeling the damn thing was acting like a rabbit, telling us not to throw it into the briar patch. Well, these Dark Sages have been showing up on every floor for us so far. I wonder just how much further we're gonna have to go before we don't have to deal with these guys at all anymore. Really? They're going to do double-digit damage to us when we're 48 clips in. Even our mages can hit harder than that without even bothering to use any MP. I suppose I shouldn't feel too insulted by that. Not when we've been getting into so many fights, and there's no way to tell how much further we have to go before we're finally done. It's that awkward thing where I fully understand why the game feels like it's harder this far in, but I'd prefer it to feel easier just so I can be done with it. And I just don't like some of the ways they implemented the difficulty. I mean, seriously, the storytelling momentum feels like it should have ended hours ago. Honestly, I kind of respect the move Tornado more than I would any single hit death attack. Sure, it hits hard, it does not give a damn how much health you actually have. It will send you into a critical state regardless. But still, the enemy needs to hit you with something other than just plain Tornado to bring you down. They could throw 100 tornadoes at you, and you wouldn't lose anyone. It would just leave everybody so physically ruined that you could finish them off with a light poke. As a side note, I am legitimately getting worried that we're going to run out of room to gather more items from the various boxes. Though, I suppose retreating for the sake of emptying part of our inventory is as good a reason as any to pull back. Just, we do need to get some rest and resupply at some point after all. Yeah. Somehow doubt we're gonna be able to finish both of them off before the Doom actually kills some of our party members. Not without ridiculously close things got the last time we had to deal with just one of these one-eyed bastards. I kind of wish I could tell if the one-eyed bat things are something that was inspired by mythology of some kind, or if it was just something that Final Fantasy threw in for itself. If anything, I'm oddly fascinated by the fact that this creature somehow doesn't feel out of place, despite the fact that we encountered the first of those flying eye things back before Cecile even broke off from the Kingdom of Baron at the start of the game. Hell, before we even had any party members other than Cecile himself, and when the story felt like it could do some especially interesting stuff. Honestly, I'm kind of amazed how little the Red Wings ended up meaning in the story as a whole, considering Cecile started out as their captain. Golbez was officially assigned as their captain in Cecile's place, and the Red Wings were responsible for destroying Edward's kingdom. Wait, what? I'm sorry, I think I just lost my train of thought, because we walked over absolutely empty air there. I'm sorry, but I don't think there are any other hidden paths like that in this game at all. All the other ones are things that are hidden by the terrain, but that is literally the sort of thing that you would absolutely have no chance of stumbling onto unless you had a guide. Good God, how many people over the decades never would have noticed that right there? It's one of the sort of things that makes me want to skip ahead to the PlayStation 1 Final Fantasy games. 7, 8, and 9 were nowhere near as obsessed with hiding things as 4, 5, and 6. And I'm fervently hoping that when I finally get around to working on Final Fantasy 3, we won't have to deal with any of that overly hidden crap. To a degree, I can understand why the level designers would think that way. Hell, I kind of appreciate that they made it something more complicated than a singular, easily figured out path. Final Fantasy 13 in the future will show why that sort of thing is pretty bad level design for this style of game, but still, there's got to be a happy medium between overly simplistic and downright bullshit when it comes to role-player game level design. Yet another dragon slain, and we are most definitely running out of potions by this point. I wonder when I'm finally gonna start pulling back and trying to get back to the planet in order to resupply, because this dungeon is more than enough of a pain in the ass without having to deal with the occasional bonus boss out of nowhere. And it feels like the damage we receive from the same enemies is wildly inconsistent sometimes. Seriously, that dragon struck both Kain and Cecile with the same attack. Kain only took 1 HP of damage. Cecile took over 800 from the same kind of attack. And Cecile supposedly has the better armor of the two of them. Does anyone else here feel like the math doesn't really add up? Lovely. Another behemoth when we're running low on healing items. In fact, I'm kind of getting worried that we're going to struggle to be able to get back out of the dungeon, considering how many resources we've used just to get this far in. Oh, God. Don't tell me I'm gonna have to go through the same hours worth of footage again, because I got too cocky and went too deep into this dungeon for a single dive. Why the hell do Final Fantasy dungeons always have to be so bloody long and have such a high encounter rate when you get to the final one? If the game had momentum in terms of storytelling, the final dungeon is where that momentum goes to die. And if they don't have any story momentum, it makes the end game grind just that little bit more excruciating. Right, we are officially out of potions now. I'm certainly not going to use the X potions outside of emergencies in a boss fight. Well, I'll be damned, a save point. At the very least, that should help us recover some MP, though. I'm a bit worried what's near that save point. I doubt it's going to be the final boss. There's too much footage remaining for the game as a whole to be ready to start rolling the credits, but still. Sorry I let that bit of text go by so fast. I think I was getting frustrated dealing with this boss fight and several bits of, well, deleted footage. Blasted with a Mega Flare before we could even say hello. Bloody hell, and is anyone else a bit annoyed that this boss is literally just a palette swap of Bahamut and didn't even bother trying to hide it? They didn't even give the guy a fresh name, they just put Dark in front of Bahamut, which, of course, makes me think of Dark Samus and Dark Link. That sort of thing can work, but this isn't the way to pull it off. Son of a bitch! Cast and Reflect just as I was about to throw a harsh lightning attack on him. I suppose I deserved that, but I was kinda hoping Rydia could get that spell off just a little bit faster than that. Part of me feels like it's a bit of a bad thing that I used the kitchen knife, the best weapon Edge could throw, for this boss fight instead of the final boss fight, but this guy's just throwing a metric ton of bullshit our way. I just checked online. Rydia doesn't learn Flare until she gets to level 55 in this version of the game. And apparently in the 3D remake, I'd have to get her to level 60 to use the same damn spell for some reason. And that is yet another reason I'm gonna be hesitant to get around to recording Final Fantasy IV's 3D remake, even if there are a number of improvements and part of me is looking forward to talking about those. And Rydia goes down in a single shot. As if I didn't have enough hints that maybe we went too far too fast and I should have just slowed down and ground up around 10 levels for everyone. I'm not even going to bother getting her back on her feet. I don't think she'd be all that useful, considering the bastard is immune to our spells due to that reflect. Just how much more abuse can this one dragon take? We could have killed the actual Bahamut a few times over in the amount of time it's taken us to fight against this dark copy that came with no warning or build-up. I swear, the weapon that he's protecting can't possibly be anywhere near good enough to warrant this kind of defense for it. Oh, are you shitting me? He can heal! This demonic moon dragon can heal from the wounds we inflict on him. I call supreme bullshit. Enemies with that much health should not have the ability to regenerate that fast. And there goes Kain. This is just downright brutal. No wonder we were given a save point just before this fight. And of course, Edge nearly goes down because according to the game, despite his health bar, he is supposed to be almost as fragile as Rydia. Oh, come on. Kain only just got back to his feet. Well, at least we managed to get out of that fight alive. That's got to be worth something. I'm sorry, but I can't help feeling that Excalibur should be the greatest sword Cecile can equip, considering the trouble we had getting the raw material to make it forged. It's not like anyone else can equip that damn thing. Seriously, am I the only one who feels like this game kind of doesn't really know how to deal with equipment upgrades over the course of the game as a whole? It's almost like the game designers didn't actually want to deal with equipment at all, but felt like they kinda had to.